Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast. This one is going to be the pre-Seattle show. I always get confused. I was about to say pre-Florida, but that was last weekend. Now that they're not actually in the cities, I kind of forget which city we're going to. But this one's just going to be one of the prediction episodes, the pre-event predictions, as well as some reactions to some of the news of the week. There's been a lot of news, not only roster changes, but league format news. So we're going to get into it right away because this might end up being a rather long one. I never really know how long they're going to go because, sometimes I get into some topics a little bit more than I think I would, and sometimes I talk about topics a little less than I thought I would. But this one might be a little long because there's a lot of league news rather than just my predictions. So I'm going to get into a little bit of the roster news because that'll affect some of the predictions for this weekend, as opposed to the old teams that they would have been just 3 days ago. So I'll get into some of that roster news, and then we'll go over predictions, and then after the predictions we'll get into some more like the league format news that came out and some of the other kind of news related to the league that for the first time in a while is actually positive. Usually it's been negative things like going online and bad servers, but it's actually positive recently. So we're going to get into that a little later, and we're going to start out with the predictions. So like I said, this weekend we're in CDL Seattle, and there have been a few roster changes. First, obvious big news. I'm not breaking this news to any of you. All of you already know this. We've been talking about it on the last two podcasts. Is something that could happen. And Prestinni is a member of the Chicago Huntsmen now. He's starting for, people keep saying he's starting for general, but technically, yes, he's subbing in for general now, but he's taking Gunless' spot. We all know that. This is a weird move in a way because Gunless is a more talented player than Prestinni. Obviously, I don't think anybody would disagree with that. I think everybody thinks that Gunless is the better player talent-wise. But in my opinion, I think this is a great move for Chicago. I think it makes them a better team, which, that can be confusing a lot of times in sports too. If you make a slight downgrade at a position, you can become a better team, which is weird because you'd think you just want the best players that you can possibly have at every position. But sometimes people are just better fits and know their roles better. And I think this move, adding Prestinni to the roster, makes them have better fits in each of their roles. Prestinni is a clear sub player. He's a guy that on United was willing to go in first. So I think that this opens up the team because Scump in his whole career is known to be a guy that doesn't like to go in first. He's usually like the second one in, likes to pick up the trades for the guy that slides in first and get a lot of kills. Envoy can be an entry, but I feel like in this game he doesn't want to be because he was kind of an entry for his team last year a little bit. But in this game I feel like Havoc was sort of his entry last year, and he sometimes did it. And I feel like the same thing in this game, especially with him clearly being the best player on his team so far this year. He probably feels like he shouldn't be entry, so now he's got Prestinni to slide in front of him, and this obviously improves the chemistry on the team. Gunless, we all know they were struggling with him chemistry-wise because he can be a little toxic at times. Prestinni fits the team better role-wise. He's going to be their entry sub, like I said. He's also a more natural sub player. Gunless is more of a flex, likes to use a gun like the Maddox more. He's obviously also very good. He's great with the PPSH in World War II, and he was good with the MP5 this year. He's an amazing player, not saying that, but just the vibes. I think Prestinni fits the team better. I also think that makes Arcides a lot happier because, he's stated a few times this year he really wanted to play with his brother again. Now they get him. I know Scump and Formal are probably not going to break up anytime soon because, like they said, they both ended up regretting it the first time, so they're going to stick together. Now you got Prestinni and Arcides, who are much happier together. They're probably going to stick together, and then it seems like Arcides loves Envoy, so Prestinni probably will. It seems like Scump and Formal also love Envoy, so it seems like to me, kind of a bold prediction here, but it seems like to me that I think this team could stay together for a long time. This could be the next Hecz multi-year roster like it was with the Big Four, Scump, Formal, Karma, and Krim. It seems like this roster to me, as long as if they don't have success, they're not going to stick together. But it seems like to me this roster could be the next Green Wall kind of dynasty. I don't want to say dynasty because they're going to win a bunch, but I guess dynasty is not the right word. I mean more like they're going to be the roster that kind of like sticks together for 3 years. And I think they have dynasty potential. They're a great roster. But I can see this as a team that works in any game because Scump and Prestinni can always be your subs. Envoy can also be a sub. Arcides can be like a flex type player. Envoy could be a flex type player too, and then Formal can always be your main AR. And if a game fits Formal better to be a flex, he could be a flex, and Arcides could be your main AR. A pretty flexible roster. I can see this being a multi-year team, kind of the most popular team in the league, especially now that they got T2P plus the Twins, and Envoy seems to be like a young up-and-coming star. But yeah, I think this, I don't want to ramble on about this too much longer, but I think this makes them a lot better. I'm intrigued to see where Gunless goes. It kind of seems like a little bit of, at the time of this recording, it seems a little bit like Optic is being thrown around, which, I mean, talent-wise, that instantly become the most talented team in the league, but talk about butting heads, Gunless and Slasher haven't gotten along in the past, so we'll see. But I'm interested to see where Gunless goes. I think this move makes Chicago better. I'm looking forward to them getting back to the top now with this roster. I'd be very disappointed if they take a step down, but I think this is a step in the right direction. I'm very excited for the Chicago roster. Then the one other big roster move we kind of know about so far is, I guess this isn't officially confirmed, but we're pretty sure that Zero is in for Jerd for London. They were scrimming in Chicago yesterday at the time of this podcast, and somebody was on Joe's account. Obviously, Joe isn't playing, especially when I watched him drop like 41 kills in one of the hardpoint maps I watched in their scrims. If any of you know Joe, the European player, redhead that used to play with, rated all the time, he's not dropping 41 kills on any map. That would be a sight to see if he did. He was more of an OBJ player, kind of like a nade shot type. But yeah, I believe it was Zero scrimming on Joe's account. I don't know how I feel about this move. Typically, Jerd is a much better sub than Zero because Zero's not a submachine gun player. Usually he's an AR flex kind of player. But Jerd's really struggled this year. Zero wasn't horrible on New York. The team was just bad, and he kind of got scapegoated, odd man out, I guess you could say. So I think this could be a good move. To me, it's kind of a neutral move until we see. I could see it being a good move. I could see it maybe making them a little worse. But I can't see it making them like a ton better. They could get better from it because I feel like London's a team that's right on the edge of being a really good team anyways. So maybe this will just put them over the top just because Zero might be a little better. So I wouldn't be shocked if they get a ton better, but I don't think this like makes them like a top team or makes them horrible. I think it maybe makes them a little bit better, a little bit worse. I don't see too much change. But like I said, it wouldn't shock me enough they all of a sudden make it to a semifinal because I think they are right on the edge of making it to a semifinal any weekend anyways. But I think the weirdest part about this move is Jerd being benched because, I mean, Jerd has been a long time European star. He's King Jerd. He's kind of like the Scump of Europe in a way, not like player-wise or success-wise, but just popularity. He's King Jerd over there. He's just really popular. So it's weird to see a player of his caliber benched. It felt like when he was on Splice for all those years, no matter how bad he played, it was kind of like Scump. Even if he had the worst year possible, branding-wise, he's kind of like the face of the franchise, so you're never going to see him benched. So it's a little weird to see him benched. I wonder if he'll end up anywhere else. So far, we don't really see any teams with too many mixed countries. It's like mostly... or not countries, I guess continents. It's mostly North American with North American, Europeans with Europeans. I mean, I think Toronto's got a few mixed in like Cami methods. They're kind of mixed in a little bit advanced, but overall it's mostly, I mean, London's got all European players, and then pretty much all the teams in the US have just North American players. I say North American because there's guys like Gunless and Karma who are from Canada, but yeah, I mean, there's not too many teams with mixed regions, so I don't know if Jerd will actually be able to find a trade, which would be kind of sad because he's a really popular player. Always seems like he's a great player, really aggressive. I like to watch him, so it's kind of sad. But, yep, Zero's in for Jerd. So there's a little bit more news to get into, like I said in the intro to this podcast, but that's more league-related. So I'm going to go into the predictions, and then we'll get into league-related news after that. So let me pull up the bracket here. Got it on the CDL website because they haven't released it on Twitter for some reason yet, which is where I usually look at it. But the teams in attendance this weekend, I haven't actually looked at the teams who are in attendance too well. I kind of forgot a few of them, but I believe listening to some other things that this coming week was supposed to be a pretty easy event, one that they could see like a weird team, because I think the only top team there is Chicago. Let's see here. Yeah, Group A, we've got London, LA Gorillas, Seattle Surge, New York Subliners, and then Group B, we've got Paris, Chicago, Minnesota, and OGLA. So yeah, this is a much weaker weekend because you don't have Dallas and Atlanta here, which I think everybody unanimously considers the top two teams in the game. So this is going to be, I thought last weekend was probably the best weekend so far. I was super entertained, and I mean, that's a little harder for me in this game. I loved watching Black Ops 4. I can't say I love watching Modern Warfare. I mean, it's competitive Call of Duty, so just my love for it keeps me wanting to watch it, but it's not nearly as entertaining as the Black Ops games have been, and even I thought World War II was pretty entertaining compared to this game. But I think this weekend will keep us a little more intrigued for those of us that have had a tough time watching this game, because it's a little more kind of up in the air weekend, in my opinion. There's a lot of like middle of the road teams besides LA Gorillas. They're trash, but there's a lot of middle of the road teams. So I could see it really going anywhere, but we're going to get into our predictions with Group A first. The first match, I guess not the first match of the day. I don't really know the schedule, but the top of the bracket is the London Royal Ravens versus LA Gorillas. If you've listened to this podcast at all, listened to any of my videos, you know how I feel about the Gorillas. Not much to say on this series here. I don't want to get too in-depth in the series that are kind of early and don't matter as much. I'll go more in-depth into my semifinal predictions possibly, but London's going to take this 3-0, 3-1, something like that. I can't see it going 5. Also, if you listen to the podcast, you know that I'm pretty high on London. I think that they're a pretty good team. I've always thought that they were a good team. I think they have, going into the year, I thought they had potential to win some events, but Dylan and Jerd struggled massively. I've never been a big fan of Rated, so he kind of made me hesitant. Obviously, he's off the team now. I think Scraps and Wuskin are great players. I thought Dylan and Jerd were going to be a great sub duo. Now they got Zero. If you've listened to me at all, you know I really, really like Zero as a player. So I think, between Scraps, Zero, Dylan, Wuskin, if they can figure things out, I think this team has a lot of potential. They're going to win this matchup against LA Gorillas pretty easily, knock them down to the loser's side. Then the other match in Group A to start out is Surge Subliners. This one's really intriguing to me. I've been kind of riding the Seattle Surge train a little bit. I think they've gotten a little better. Now, that doesn't mean I think that, I was listening to Hardpoints and Maven thinks they're going to, win the event or something. But I don't think, no, it wasn't Hardpoints. It was it Hardpoints? I don't remember if it was Nameless's podcast or Hardpoints. I can't remember, but somebody, I think it might have been Nameless actually. I think he said, the Surge are going to win this next event or something. And I was like, that's kind of crazy, but I guess with the players in their team, you never would be shocked if Slacked and Apathy and Karma and Octane and those guys were able to pull out a win. But anyways, Surge Subliners, I think this is possibly the most intriguing match of the entire first round because a few weeks ago it would have been battle of the 9th team versus the 10th team, really close in the standings and the power rankings. But Subliners have looked a lot better recently. They've been able to get themselves out of their group. They've looked insanely better. Mac Melts looks like a superstar in this game. And the Surge also showed improvements. They were able to make it to a semifinal in their last tournament. I think they took a map off Faze in the semifinal. We haven't seen them in about 2-3 weeks because they didn't play at the last event, but they looked a lot better. I think I'm still going to have to go with New York in this one. I'm pretty hard on the New York hype train. I think they're an amazing team. I think they're a better team than the Seattle Surge are right now, but I think this will be a good series. I think a 3-1, 3-2, but I'm going to go 3-1, but a lot of close maps, a lot of 250, 230 hard points. Search will probably be a blowout in Subliners' favor. Maybe Seattle will take the dom, but I think it'll be a lot of close maps, but Subliners will take that one 3-1. So then down in the first knockout match, it would be LA Gorillas versus Seattle Surge. Once again, not a lot to talk about here. Don't think the LA Gorillas are any good. I think they lose to Surge here. I think it's actually going to be a rather close series. I'm actually going to give the Gorillas credit for once. I think it's going to be a 3-2 series. I think that the Gorillas are going to be really motivated to beat Seattle because all Seattle ever does is get their points off of the Gorillas. I think every single one of Seattle's wins this year has been against the Gorillas. So I think Seattle's going to get another 10, and the memes are going to be great from that with Slacked. But yeah, I think Seattle wins this one 3-2. Moving on to the second round of the knockout stage. Then at the top, we have two teams that I've been kind of waiting to be really good all year. Two teams that I've been predicting would be good all year. And if Zero's in the starting lineup, makes for interesting storyline. You've got former teammates, Zuma versus Zero. They were on Faze together last year. Scraps versus Zuma. They were on Faze together last year. So I think this makes for another great matchup. This Group A is a bunch of middle-of-the-road kind of teams. But I think that makes for a great matchup because you've got a bunch of pretty evenly matched teams. I don't know who to go with on this one. I think Zero's going to be really motivated to beat his old team, but I like New York more as a team. And London with the roster change may not be as on point as New York has been. So I don't feel confident in this pick at all, but I'm going to go with New York. Although I really, really, really think London could very easily win this match. I think it could be a 3-0 either way. Actually, that's how unsure I am in this match. But just to go with a more safe pick, I think New York has their stuff together more. They didn't make a recent roster change, which could screw a little bit with London's teamwork. So I'm going to go with New York on this one. I think it's going to be a 3-2, though. I think it's going to be one of the better series of the weekend. New York wins it, comes out of the group. And then another intriguing matchup in knockout round 2. It's funny, a bracket with no top teams in it could be so intriguing to me. But this knockout round 2 would be Seattle Surge versus New York. Or no, not New York Subliner. Seattle Surge versus London Royal Ravens. I want to say the Surge come out because I want to see that team do well. So many like all-time greats, some of the best of all time, but I don't see them winning this. As you know, I've been a person that's been on the London hype train all year. I think they're finally going to get done, finally going to get out of their group again. Don't think they've gotten out of the group since the first home series tournament in London, I believe, and then they got like reverse swept by Faze, I think, something like that. But I think they're going to get out. I think they beat Surge 3-1 here. I think they're a really good team. I think Zero's going to improve their communication, their leadership, maybe keep them a little more organized. One of the only European champions ever. But I can see the Surge putting up a good fight here. I wouldn't be shocked if they won, but I think London's the better team, so I'm going to pick London to come out 3-1. So out of Group A, I've got London and New York coming out. Probably the most common prediction, I'd say. All right. And then going down to Group B. In my opinion, this group is almost a little muddier than the other group because, I mean, as you know, with the roster change, I'm pretty high on Chicago, but between Minnesota and OGLA, I have no idea who to predict coming out of this one. I'm just going to say Chicago's going to 3-0 Paris. Paris goes on to losers. I think Paris has officially kind of fallen out of that middle-of-the-road team kind of potential. I think they were just a little bit more ahead of the meta in the beginning of the game, and that was able to win them some series and stuff. But now I think that everybody's kind of towards the same meta and kind of understands the game. Maybe some teams are a little bit ahead of other teams, but they're all a lot closer now than they are in the beginning of the game. And now, since they're all pretty close in their understanding of the game and the meta, I think Paris has just fallen behind. Talent-wise, they're one of the least talented teams. Not saying the players aren't good. I mean, they have, Zed, Kismet, I think Denz, all those players in that team are extremely good Call of Duty players and could be successful on any team they're on if they're put in the right situation. But as a collective group, talent-wise, I think they're one of the lower talent group teams in the league. So everybody's caught up to them game knowledge-wise, so I think that makes Paris a lot worse. They fall 3-0 to Chicago, moving Chicago on. And then toughest first-round matchup to me to predict, Minnesota versus OGLA. If you know I'm from Wisconsin, I like the Rocker a lot. I went to the Rocker, the first ever CDL event in league history in Minnesota. It was a lot of fun. The Rocker fans are actually it blew me away how much they actually cheered for their home team, which is something like you would never think a team like that in Call of Duty with like Silly and Assault and not terribly popular players would get a lot of cheers, but they did. It was really cool, so I got a little bit of Minnesota bias. But at the same time, I've been a person that all year while OGLA has been trash, I've been kind of like, they're going to be good, they're going to be good, they're going to be good. For some reason, I've been on those middle-of-the-road London, New York, OGLA, those kind of like underperforming teams. I've been on their hype train. I just could never see how a team with Slasher, Kenny, Dashy, and TJ couldn't be good. They blew out Minnesota at one of our last LAN events. They blew out Minnesota. I think this is going to be a 3-2 series, whatever way it goes. I'm going to pick OGLA to win it, though. I don't know why, but I just think that OGLA is going to win it. I think talent-wise, they're a more talented team. I think Minnesota is a way more fundamentally correct team, but I think OGLA is going to ride their momentum from last week. They want to prove it wasn't their fault. Pac-Man got fired, which that's a whole mess of a situation that we won't get into, but I think they're going to want to have something to prove here. They're going to win it 3-2, really close series, and once again, another series that I would not be shocked at all if Minnesota was able to take this one. But I'm going to go with OGLA. Tough one to predict, but I'm taking them. I think you all know where I'm going with this one. The first knockout match, Minnesota-Paris. I think Minnesota wins this 3-0, 3-1, something like that. Pretty easy. Minnesota is an extremely good top 5 team in my opinion. Paris is not, pretty simply. Minnesota is a team that's probably the most knowledgeable of the game at all times, have more talent than Paris. They knock them out pretty easily. So then the winners match to get out of the group, Chicago OGLA, that's important, not LA Gorillas. You know where I'm going to go with this one probably. Oh, this is a really tough one. Two teams that I think are like the two, potential to be the two best teams I thought in the beginning of the year. It's really tough for me not to pick Chicago. Something about the new roster, I think they'll play really well, but I could also see them stumbling because of the new roster. But I'm not going to predict on somebody's downfall, so I'm going to predict Chicago is going to win this one. I think it'll be another 3-2 series, a really close one for OGLA. Another series that I would absolutely not be shocked at all if OGLA were able to take it. They're an extremely talented team. They can beat anyone at any time, but I'm going to pick Chicago to come out of this one. I think it'll be a close 3-2 series, though. So then the knockout match to make it out of the group, it's a rematch, Minnesota versus OGLA. I'm taking OGLA again. I think they're really talented. I think they make it to another semi. I believe they're playing with Chino again. I don't know of a roster change, and especially if they get gunless. If they get gunless, that could be a different story. I'll say that. If they get gunless, they might beat Chicago, actually. But I don't know how that's going to work. If they have Chino, they're still a good team. Another week to practice with him. I think they make it out, beat Minnesota 3-2 again. I think Minnesota has a really tough weekend. Just a tough draw having to play OGLA twice. I think they'll win 2 maps in both their losses, and then obviously 3 in their win against Paris. So, I mean, Minnesota's going to win 7 maps, in my opinion, and not even make it out of their group. So that's a tough weekend. But I think OGLA makes it out. I don't know if this is the exact order. Maybe OGLA will be the winner out of this group. Maybe they'll be the loser, but I think it's going to be Chicago and OGLA out of this group. Once again, wouldn't be shocked if it's Minnesota, but I think in any order, OGLA and Chicago are going to come out of this group. So then that takes us to our semifinals. The winner of Group A, which would be the Subliners for me, versus the loser of Group B, which would be OGLA. God, I'm killing myself with these predictions I have to make because I'm pitting all teams that I really like. Just the way they play and the confidence I have in them. I'm picking all the teams that I really like as dark horses and stuff to go against each other. So that OGLA versus Subliners, I don't know where to go with this one. I think Subliners are supremely talented. They're really, really good. I think OGLA's got the talent edge in this matchup. I think OGLA finally figured out how to play the game. Dashy on the sub is elite. TJ finally, like Maven said, learned how to hold a controller. I'm going to go OGLA here. Coming into this prediction, when I was kind of making up my predictions before I started recording the podcast, I thought I was going to pick Subliners, but something's telling me right now to pick OGLA. I'm going to go with them. I think another close series. I can't see this one being 3-0, maybe a 3-1. Wouldn't be shocked at a 3-2. Once again, wouldn't be shocked if Subliners won, but I'm going to OGLA on this one. They make it to their second straight final. And the Subliners get knocked out disappointingly before the final, but once again, they win 2 matches. They make it out of their groups as the winner of their group. They show that they're a really good team, and they're here to stay as a top half of the league team. Then the winner of Group B, Chicago Huntsmen, versus the loser of Group A, the London Royal Ravens. I think you all know where I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to have Hecz versus the fake Optic. It's going to be a 3-1 for Chicago. I think they handle London pretty easily. I actually think it could be a 3-0, but I think it'll be a 3-1. Chicago never seems to just blow people away, or Scump and formal teams, I should say, don't seem to ever beat the teams that they're better than easily. They seem to always make it a little harder than it has to be and give them a free map or something. So I think Chicago wins that. So we get a Chicago Hecz versus Optic final, the first one of that kind. And then I'm saying Chicago takes them out 3-2. I think it'll be maybe the best final we've had all year. I think just the Optic Chicago, if it was in a LAN environment, I think it'd be amazing with actual fans there. But I think it'll be a high tension kind of series. I think Prestinni gets his win in his first weekend here in Chicago. Now, I don't know if that would happen if Atlanta and Dallas were here necessarily, but I think Chicago gets their first win online. They finally break the semifinal curse, and they beat OGLA in a close series. Also, just really quickly to touch on this topic, I was reminded when I started going into the semifinal, I heard Crowder say on the Hardpoints podcast that for the semifinal, even if you're the winner out of your group, so you're technically the higher seed in a sense, you still have to do the coin flip for the map vetoes, which if you don't really know exactly what that means, basically there's a really good side on Hackney Hardpoint and a lot of the Hardpoint maps. There's a really good side to start on and a really bad side to start on that it's a lot to get into game knowledge wise, but it makes it really hard to flip spawns in your favor if you spawn on one side, so it's a lot easier to just have a really good start to the game if you are the team that spawns on one side. I think that's absolutely horrible that you have to do a coin flip for that. If I'm a team that came out without losing out of my bracket and I'm playing a team that was the loser out of their bracket, I should get the advantage. We shouldn't have to do a coin flip to see who gets the advantage. That's just horrible, but I don't want to get too much into that rant because they covered that enough. I'm sure if any of you listen to this, you listen to the Hard Points podcast, they cover that plenty. That's just horrible. They need to change that. It's bad. All right. So then we pretty much gone over my predictions. I got London, New York, OGLA, Chicago coming out of their brackets. In my opinion, I think that'd be a really competitive and very, very good semifinal. I think that would include probably, the third best team in Chicago, maybe number 4 in OGLA, maybe 5, 6 in New York, and then like 7 or 8 in London, just missing like that 5th best team. I'd say like 3 Chicago, 4 OGLA, probably 6 New York, and 7 London, and then you're just missing that 5 team Minnesota because I have them getting knocked out. But a lot of the like 3 through 7 teams are in that semifinal, so that should be a good competitive semifinal. And then I've got Chicago winning it. So there's my predictions for the weekend. Now I'm gonna get into some more of like league related news, not as much roster changes, but actual like league format and stuff. So the CDL announced today, I saw an ESPN article right when I woke up. CDL officially announced, we kind of knew this, it was rumored, I think Clay said something about it, but it's officially announced that the playoff bracket is 12 teams. And I have something pull up on Twitter here. Where is it? Yeah, so I think it's, COD Gamepedia, the CDL updates, posted something about like what the bracket for champs would look like. And it shows just how important getting a higher seed is. And by the way, the winners get $2 million this year. $2 million, so $400K a player. I believe I saw like, once again, Clay tweet something. Now don't quote me on these. I believe it was like $160K per player last year at champs, which obviously, $160,000. That's a great payday for winning a weekend of COD. Obviously that's before taxes, and taxes will take a bunch out, and taxes will take a bunch out of their $400,000 too. But still, that's over double what an individual player would win, $160,000 to $400,000. I just want to say that's amazing. It's just, as somebody who's been passionate about competitive COD and esports in general my whole life, being I turned 22 here in a few weeks, being almost 22 years old, it's amazing to see, like when I was younger, people would be playing just for pure passion. They'd be playing for a tournament where they'd win $1,000 and they'd split $250 to each person, $1,000 4 ways, $250 each. And now we're playing for the winner to get $2 million to split 5 ways. I think it's amazing. It's obviously only good for Call of Duty for the price pool to keep going up. It makes it more legit. I just think it's awesome that as many things as they seem to have done a little bit wrong or not as correct as they should have been this year, it's awesome to see the prize pool really raising up with this franchise league, and that's all on that topic really, but it's just awesome to see that pool raising up. But then in relation to the seeds, like I see here, COD Gamepedia, all credit to them here, they said that, as you can see from this incredible, the high seeds are incredibly important for this kind of format. The first and second seed could realistically win champs and $2 million with 3 series wins. So if you actually see, the first and second seed start in the winners semis. Just think about that. First and second seed in the league. So right now I believe that's Atlanta and Dallas. They would start in the winners semis. Could you imagine in the past if a team just got to skip groups and skip all those early like nerve-wracking matches and went straight to winners semis? That's absolutely insane. So they get to start in winners semis if they're the 1 or 2 seed, and then I think third and fourth get to start in winners quarters. So not as good, but it's still 1 round bye. That's big. Getting just 1 round that you don't have to worry about getting a win in. And then 5 plays 8 on winners round 1, 6 plays 7 in winners round 1, and then 9 through 12 all start in losers straight away. So that means that, like I said, 1 and 2 need to win 3 series in order to be crowned the champions. And then you look, and 9 through 12 seeds would have to win 8 series. At first they said it was 7, but it's 8 because they have to win 2 in the grand final, since this is finally a double elimination bracket. So this is why we thought maybe home series aren't as important, but home series are crucial. Even the difference between the 8th seed and the 9th seed. If you're the 8th seed, you get to start in winners round 1 playing the 5th seed. So not the best position to be in. You have to play the best team that's available in round 1, likely. But, you're in winners. If you're the 9th seed, you start in losers. So you lose your first match to that 12 seed, you're done. Season's over. You're placing top 12 at champs, worst placement possible, and you're just out. But if you're the 8th seed and you come out a little slow, you lose to the 5th seed, you get another chance. You get to drop down to losers. You all know this format. This is the format we've been watching for years before the CDL, the double elimination bracket. But that's crucial to be able to start in winners rather than losers. So now it becomes extra important to be able to get that top 8 seed. Before it would have just been that you make the playoffs because of that. But now it's even more vital because if you're not a top 8 seed, you're starting in losers. So you can't even lose one time. You have to go 8 straight matches if you're a 9 through 12 seed in order to win it all. With no room to lose, you got to go 8-0. That's ridiculously hard to do. If any 9 through 12 seed ends up somehow having a Cinderella story, like London stays at 9 or something, or Seattle stays at 9 and is able to make a run, that'd be the craziest Cinderella story maybe in COD history. It'd be amazing. Kind of like the Envy Ghost run where they got knocked to losers like right away and ran all the way. But yeah, that's the new playoff format. I think it makes it really exciting. It makes it a little bit more like COD champs of the past instead of just having 8 teams in like a single elimination bracket where it would have been over in like a day. It makes it actually a little more exciting because you've got the winners and now you've got a double elimination, so it feels more like old COD. So if you can't hear it in my voice, I'm a little more excited about that than the old format. And I mean, I'm assuming we're going to have a league expansion after this year, probably to at least 16 teams. So this just gets me more and more excited that maybe every year at champs, we're going to have more double elimination, and it's going to be like more like an old COD tournament, which gets me really excited to watch that. So yeah, I think that should be something we all should be excited for as a community. This is just a really short news. I believe I saw something on Twitter about they've added like improved dedicated 60 hertz servers for a private game. I don't know how this relates to the CDL. I haven't seen enough on that. I'm sure we'll hear more about it. I'm not the person that would break like news like this to you anyways. That'd be like the CDL Intel page or whatever, or the CDL itself. But I did see there's dedicated 60 hertz servers for private match in the game. I thought they might not be 60 hertz. That's what I saw some people saying. So don't quote me on them being dedicated 60 hertz, but that's what I believe I saw. So if that's in the game and if they're for CDL and only for CDL, then they actually could maybe help the server issue a little bit. I don't have enough detail on the server issue itself to know what's wrong. I mean, I know obviously players are lagging and having connection issues, but whatever that is, hopefully it helps with connection issues, because obviously we don't want to see people losing games because their connection sucks and because one team has way better connection to the game. I mean, even as if I was a competitor in the league, I wouldn't want to win games because it's fluky and somebody had bad connection. We all want to see legit games. Sorry, I had to take a drink there. Then some more new news. Warzone Sundays are now at tournaments. This is where all 12 teams in the CDL are going to drop into a private lobby and play for a cash prize. I don't know how this is going to work because obviously we've never seen a mode in Warzone where it's 5-man teams. So I don't know if they're going to play like the classic trios, just pick 3 players from their team, or if they're going to play the quads that have been in the game where they're going to pick 4, or if Activision's going to put in a special mode like for private lobbies where you can play with teams of 5. That's what I would assume they'll do, so they can promote each player on each team. But all 12 CDL teams are going to be represented. They're going to drop into a private lobby, and then the last team standing wins cash prize. Some of you I know, like the COD purists, like I consider myself, might say like, this is garbage. Don't add this to Sunday. Like, we don't want to see this garbage on our tournaments. Like, this isn't competitive COD. There's a couple ways I think it's successful, and I'm excited for it. I think it must be after the event is over. The championship match has to be played. The event has to be over. This can't be in the middle of the day because it's something that could end up taking a long time. It could be kind of show matchy and take away from the actual tournament itself. So I really hope it's at the end of the day, after everything's all said and done on Sunday, after the tournament's all over with. Then it'll be great. And I also think it's going to be really good, as stubborn as some of you might want to be, to just keep competitive COD. I think it could be great to draw new viewers. Whether you like it or not, competitive COD isn't as popular as Warzone. Warzone's like the biggest game on Twitch. It's like the most played game in the world right now. It's got crazy numbers. And if people hear like, if some random people that don't ever watch competitive COD but maybe watch Warzone streamers hear like, oh, I've watched this Warzone streamer, they might not, I mean, it's weird to think about, but there might be people that think Scump is just a Warzone streamer, or Formal when he's playing Warzone is just a Warzone streamer. So they might be like, oh, well, I'm going to watch my favorite Warzone streamer Scump play Warzone. He's playing in like a big tournament. And then all of a sudden he'll notice that, oh, they're playing against this other team, Atlanta, Faze, and they're playing against this other city-based team. Like, what is this? And maybe they'll be able to draw in some new viewers through a bunch of people maybe watching a bunch of pros play Warzone, like the best Warzone players playing against each other in like a tournament style. I know Keemstar's tournament draws a lot of viewers, so maybe this will draw some more viewers. And then maybe all of a sudden the people will be like, wow, I kind of like watching this. Maybe I'll watch the competitive COD. So, I mean, maybe it won't work that way, but I could see it drawing in new viewers. So I really don't think it could be a negative for the CDL as long as it's after the tournament and doesn't occur in like the middle of the tournament to slow things down. Okay. And then I know this is getting a little long-winded, gone a little longer than I wanted to, but we got to get all the news in. Who cares? Oh, this next news is like a sigh of relief. You can hear it in my voice. It's like, we've been asking for this for freaking years. They finally put in ways to earn CDL items by watching the stream. Okay, so I'm gonna have to refer back to Twitter for the exact details. I don't want to get it wrong in this one, but it says the Call of Duty League at the time of this recording tweeted this about an hour ago. They said, coming soon, earn new team emblems, sprays, and animated calling cards by watching live Call of Duty League matches on the CDL website or COD companion app. The only negative I see on this is it says CDL website or COD companion app. I know obviously they're trying to promote their website and promote their app to get more traffic in it, but a little unfortunate that it doesn't mention anything about you can just watch the YouTube stream like any actual dedicated fan is going to be watching on the YouTube stream. It would have been usually the Twitch stream, but now it's the YouTube stream. We're all going to be watching on that. So that's kind of sucky if we have to go on the COD companion app to watch it for a little bit to earn stuff, or the CDL website. But hey, I'm not going to complain about it because this is a step in the right direction. We have been begging since I can remember, all the way back since like AW. We've been begging for them to add ways like many other games do for playing your game or watching your game. We should be able to earn like calling cards for our favorite teams or camos for our favorite teams, and they're finally doing something about it. So rather than complain like a lot of people in the community are, I'm going to say thank you. Great first step. Now let's improve it in the future and make it so we can watch straight on YouTube and get drops, or playing the game we can get drops towards those teams. But this is a great step in the right direction. They're finally integrating some way to watch and earn items, and then now we can display those items in the game, and then all of a sudden if I kill somebody with my Chicago Huntsmen calling card on, they can be like, oh, Chicago Huntsmen, what's that? And then maybe they'll look it up, and once again, another way to just grab some more viewers and maybe drag them into the CDL. So just once again, there's a lot of criticism you can make with it, but finally they're adding animated calling cards and stuff related to the teams, ways for us to watch and then earn finally. So we're not just watching with no in-game stuff to show for it, and no, we don't have to pay for this. Like usually whenever they finally add stuff into like Black Ops 3, they added in team camos in like July, right before champs. Finally, you don't have to pay for that stuff. I never really wanted to pay because I'm not a huge microtransaction person. I'm a big Madden Ultimate Team player too, if any of you know what that is or play it, and my God, all that game is microtransactions, and I've never been a guy that likes to do a lot of microtransactions. So earning free CDL items would be awesome by watching the stream. All right, then just a couple more topics to get into. Censor addressed the substitution player issue, which I think is very good. I know probably a lot of us have our opinions on Censor, or mixed opinions. You might not like him, you might like him a lot, but I think he's got a valid point, and subs are pretty limited. They can't play with other subs in the challengers, which I don't know, that might be a good rule. I haven't really formed a detailed opinion enough to speak on it, but subs aren't allowed to play with other subs. They have a lot of restrictions on who they can play with, what they can do. They never seem to get practice time with their team, so they're not game ready. No subs seem to even get subbed in unless it's an emergency and actually like stay on the roster, so it seems like they're pointless because every time a team is actually going for a legit new roster change and not just a one weekend sub, they go sign an amateur or like trade for somebody. So he's got a good point that like a substitute in anything is supposed to be a guy that's like ready to come in and fill in when the team needs him, and right now he has no chance to do that. So I think he needs to keep this movement going and kind of talk to the league and figure out like it's got to be easier for a sub to play in challengers and stuff, which, yes, obviously, because you've got players like Chino, who's a MVP, a two-time champ, sitting on the bench. Now he's in, but like before when he was on the bench. And you got guys like Zero, who's on the bench, and plenty of good players that are just sitting on the benches, even like Tommy in Dallas. They're sitting on the bench, and they've got no way to compete because there's a bunch of like random guys that already had their team before when Tommy was still looking for a starting spot, and by then all the challenger teams had formed. And then you've got these substitutes sitting there, they can't find a challenger team to play with because of this, and they can't get practice because their team's got a set roster, so they're just stuck not being able to practice, which is no good for them because they're supposed to be people that are game ready to play. At any moment they're supposed to be subbed in, and a guy like Sensor, who's never been able to practice anything besides tens, I know as much as people like to destroy him, you say he's bad, whatever, like, take that out of the equation. If he never gets any practice, how is he supposed to be ready to play? So I completely see where he's coming from, and I think it's a good thing that he's addressing this issue. The last little point about news is, as I said in the last podcast, I work for the College COD League, the CCL, if any of you have ever watched that. We just wrapped our playoffs, so to all of you that tuned into that and watched that, if you've gotten to this point in my video, thank you for watching the CCL. I work in the stats division there. I put together notes for the casters to have while they're casting over the match, so they can like look over and see like a team's record in a certain map. Then I input stats as well for the league, so the players can see their KDs, their average hill time, all stuff like that. So yeah, if you guys checked out the CCL, the College COD League, thank you for doing that. If not, go back, watch some of the VOD, watch some of our matches. I like to believe that our quality is as high, if not higher, than the CDL. I mean, we've got a great quality product, great graphics, amazing casters, great stats division, just a great community. So if you haven't checked out the CCL, go check us out. Great community, great league, super fun to watch. If you love competitive COD, you'll love watching it. The season's over for now. Playoffs just wrapped up, but we might be running some tournaments this summer, so check that out. But that's going to be it for this podcast. I hope everyone really enjoys watching this weekend. As I said, I'm predicting this to be just like last weekend with kind of the lack of top teams there. I think it could actually end up being one of the most entertaining because everybody seems to be so evenly matched, and I could see anybody from Minnesota to London to Chicago to New York to OGLA. I could see even Seattle's a dark horse. I could see anybody winning this tournament besides Paris and LA Gorillas. I think there's 6 teams here that have either a good shot or a really slim shot, but at least nonetheless a shot to win the tournament. So I think this weekend should be great. Hope everybody enjoys watching it. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. We've been getting a lot more views on the videos recently, some more likes. The likes are up a little bit. We've gained some subscribers. So be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, comment down below some of your thoughts on my predictions. Give me your predictions. Just comment what you thought of the episode. I want to thank you guys once again for watching. It means a ton to me, and make sure to continue your support. Go check out the CCL, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and leave a thumbs up. Keep watching the videos, and I thank you guys so much, and hope you guys enjoy watching this weekend. I'll see you in the reaction video to CDL Seattle on like Monday or Tuesday.